Welcome back to another episode of Relationships Uncomplicated podcast, episode 75. I'm Edie Charoni, and today I share with you the second part of an interview I did with Terry Real about his new book, Us, Getting Past You and Me to Build a More Loving Relationship. If you haven't listened to part one, feel free to go back to episode 74 and start from the beginning. If you have, then welcome to part two of my interview with Terry Real, where we continue to discuss the us in our relationship. Here's a little reminder about Terry. Terry Real is an internationally recognized family therapist, speaker, author, and the founder of the Relational Life Institute. He wrote the book on male depression. He's the marriage counselor Esther Perel turns to, and Bruce Springsteen and Bradley Cooper are amongst his clients and fans. In his newest book, Us, Terry reveals how individualism and patriarchy poison our most intimate relationships. Such an important topic. So I invited him here to discuss and share more about it with us. And here is part two of our interview. This episode is sponsored by my infidelity recovery and healing program, It's Okay to Stay. If you're struggling in the aftermath of infidelity, but want to stay together, you can rebuild trust and heal through genuine expert help from me and my team personally. I started It's Okay to Stay after seeing couples therapy and self-help options often lacked essential components to help couples save their relationship after infidelity. It's Okay to Stay is a complete 8-week coaching program that involves an online roadmap course and one-on-one work with an affair recovery specialist. So if you have faith in your relationship and you want to stay together and heal, let's talk. I'm offering a 45-minute free consultation for couples who want to save their relationship and need expert help. If that's you, just go online to edicharoni.com/45 and pick a time for a video call that both you and your partner can commit to. I'll hop on. We're first going to start with understanding your struggle, and then we're going to walk through It's Okay to Stay to see if the program is right for you. Look, so many couples try therapy and self-help methods only to be put at odds with each other. But that doesn't have to be you. With expert help, It's Okay to Stay will give you the clarity that you need to understand each other, to heal, and to find a path forward past infidelity. So again, all you have to do to book your free consultation is to go to edicharoni.com/45. That's IDITSHARONI.com/45. I'll be honored to stand alongside with you on this journey.
Most couples do survive infidelity, but I'm not interested in survival. I want to use this crisis as an opening for transformation.
Yes.
In each of the two partners and in the relationship itself. I don't want to restore you back to what you were. I want to move you toward the superb relationship that you're longing for.
Yes. And I think, I can't remember the exact title that you have there, but it's almost like the delusion is over. Welcome to reality. Something like that.
You've lost everything. Welcome to your real marriage.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I think that one more thing that I thought about when I read this is how often we are quick to send people to individual therapy in the aftermath of infidelity, which to me is just something I don't understand, but it happens. Almost probably 80%, 90% of all the couples that come to see me are either in individual therapy or have done individual therapy regarding that specific situation, which boggle, like, how can you heal alone?
Right. It's ridiculous. And it's part of our, we have an individualistic bias in the culture, and that is true for psychotherapy. It's true for 12-step. It's true for feminism. One of the things I say is, what is the one value shared by mainstream culture and by almost all of the growth and development subcultures? And it's the value of the individual. Personal growth is personal growth, not relational growth. And it has very real consequences. Two people going into individual therapy when there's a explicit relational problem, that is one of the best predictors of divorce that there is. The problem is not the individual. The problem is the relationship. Bring the relationship in and work on that.
Yes. And the healing power that you have over your partner, right? If you are in individual therapy expecting, I don't know, the therapist to heal you, that's not going to happen. I think that, you have, when you sit with your partner in a session, there's healing happening, not from the therapist towards you, but from you towards your partner.
Well, that's very different than the way a lot of therapists operate. And
I know.
Get that through to people.
Yeah. Yes. So go to
we do
therapy.
In the work that I do, I call it relational life therapy. There are three phases. The first phase is what we call carefrontation, joining through the truth, waking the client up. This is what you're doing that's blowing your foot off. The second phase, or said differently, this is getting to know that adaptive child part of you. The automatic whoosh that comes over you over and over and over again. Anger, accommodation, avoidance, whatever it is.
Making, I think you said in the book, making the implicit explicit.
That is correct. That is correct. And then the next phase is, where did this come from? What were you adapting to? And so I go back into family of origin and inner child work and trauma work. And RLT is different from other forms of therapy. We do deep trauma work with one person there and the other person sitting next to them. I mean, doubled over, crying like a baby, talking to your little boy or little girl that you were. And the other person is sitting next to you. 9 out of 10 times, they're crying just watching it. And it opens the heart of the other person. But very few people do trauma work in the context of a couple. And then the third phase is teaching new skills. Now that we understand how you do it wrong, let's talk about what doing it right looks like.
Yeah.
And as you said earlier, in our culture, we've never wanted more from our relationships than we do right now. We want to be lifelong lovers with each other. But our culture does not value relationships and doesn't give our sons and daughters the skills they need to realize that ambition. That's where we come in. So the first phase is taking a hard look at that adaptive child part of you. What did you learn to do? The second phase is, where did it come from? And then the third phase is, this is how to do it differently. Can I illustrate with a story?
Do you want to tell the story?
Yes, may I?
Yes, please. I
love
stories.
So this is my standard story for understanding the adaptive child part of us. Because I always teach my students to always respect the exquisite intelligence of the adaptive child. You did back then in that crazy family exactly what you needed to do to preserve yourself.
Yeah, to survive.
Brilliant job. But I have a saying, adaptive then, maladaptive now. So, for example, we'll take Bill. Bill comes to me on the brink of divorce, and his issue is that he's a chronic liar. He lies about everything. Okay. It's about to cost him his marriage. So where did he learn to lie? You see, I have a saying, show me the thumbprint and I'll tell you about the thumb. If Bill adapted by lying, who was he lying to? There's somebody on the other end of that seesaw. So sure enough, so I say to him, who tried to control you? A guess. It was right. My father. Okay, tell me about it. How to stand, how to eat, what clothes to wear, what friends to have, what classes to take at school. I mean, utterly, utterly controlling man. And how did you cope with that? At
I
which point
lied.
he smiles and he goes, I lied. Brilliant, Bill. Just what you needed to do with that controlling father. However, she is not your father. She has resources like love and care that your father did not have. And you're not that little boy. You have resources like standing up to her that that little boy didn't have. So we do that. And we do some inner child work. He connects with that little boy, it visions him, puts him on his lap, talks to him, cry, 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 says he'll take care of him. A couple of weeks go by, they walk in my office holding hands, all smiles. And he says, I'm cured. And I say, okay, tell me the story. There's a story here. It's all true. He says, soon after our session, my wife sent me to the grocery store with a list, say 12 things. And true to form, I came back with 11 of them. And she says, like, where's the pumpernickel? He says, every muscle and nerve in my body was screaming for me to say they were out of it. That's that adaptive child knee-jerk response, the whoosh. He says, but on this one day, for once in my fucking life, I took a breath, I got my courage, I looked at my wife, and I said, I forgot the pumpernickel. And he said, my wife burst into tears. True story. And she said, I've been waiting for this moment for 25 years.
Oh my God. Wow.
That's recovery. Recovery is moving beyond your knee-jerk automatic response, taking a breath, getting into that more centered, mature place inside of you, and then choosing in this moment right now, I'm going to do it differently. And that's the healing gold out of the lead.
That's amazing. And I think that you explain it through neuroscience, how this is not just something that you saw happen with a client. It can actually be explained through neuroscience, right?
Yes, absolutely. You know, the name of the game in psychotherapy is neuroplasticity. We used to believe that once habits were set, once a neurological pathway was set, it was set, we were done, and it would take decades to undo. But that's not true. We now know that you can open up a neural pathway, and if it's opened up, you have 5 hours to lay down a new track, and the new
That's
track
amazing.
will be permanent. And if you listen to Bruce Ecker and the memory reconsolidation folks, the neurobiologists, there are two things that you need to open up a neural pathway. The first, you mentioned, that the implicit must become explicit. You lie as a way of evading someone who you see as trying to control you, erroneously, it turns out. Let's make the implicit explicit. And then the second piece is a recoil, disconfirming evidence. Wow, I don't want to do that anymore. And if you have those two pieces, you make the explicit implicit, and there's a discrepancy. The neural pathway opens up, and you can lay down a new track, corrective emotional experience that will permanently change the person.
This is wow. I mean, this is something when I read it, I think for me as a therapist, but as a person, regular person, it's mind-blowing.
It's mind-blowing.
You can't be a therapist if you don't believe people can change. But to actually hear that it is actually possible, and now to bring it to people and say, you can change. And you can do that in 5 hours. You have an opening, you know?
You can do that. You can do that in a minute. I have a tape that I show. I should put it on my website. This guy was verbally abusive for 20 years. And for 20 years, he gave that rap that people do of, it just come over me too quickly, I can't control it. So I say to him, who was the mean person in your family growing up? my stepmother. She was the meanest, nastiest, most miserable human being you could possibly imagine. Then I say to him, well, she taught you how to do this. I say to him, do you realize that in your family, you have become your stepmother? And he goes, no, 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 no. He said, that is just mortifying for someone to see me the way. No, 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 no. And I said, okay, here's what I want you to do. This is all on tape. This is what I want you to do. Do you have a picture of your stepmother? Well, not on me, but at home. Okay, good. Next time you're going to rage at your wife, I want you to pull out a picture of your stepmother. I want you to look your stepmother in the eye, and I want you to say this out loud. Right now, being like you is more important to me than my wife is. You can go rage at her. And he burst into tears. And he said, that's not true. She's not more important to me. He says, that would stop me in my tracks. I said, okay, do it. That was 17 years ago. He had been raging for 2 decades. It was an 8-minute intervention, and he has never raged since that.
Oh my God. Wow. That is almost hypnotic.
Open
right?
up the neural pathway, get the discrepancy, get them to see it, to wake up. That's what we call waking up the client. And something different can happen that moment and forevermore from that moment forward.
Amazing. and I can totally see how this, probably every time he wants to do this, he sees that picture in front of his eyes, and it stops him. Amazing. So I could probably continue to talk to you for hours, and I don't want to take much more of your time, but I have one last question.
Okay, go ahead.
So you say that there's nothing that harshness does that loving firmness doesn't do better.
Yeah.
How do we really banish? I mean, can you explain that? But can you also talk about how to banish harshness from our relationships?
Well, banishing is already a harsh word.
Yeah, right.
how to encircle the harsh part of you. One of the things I say is that harshness is a quality of the adaptive child part of us. The wise adult is not harsh. The wise adult is firm, right, but not harsh. And if your listeners get nothing from this podcast, and only this one point, it will be, I'll be happy. Ready? There's no redeeming value in harshness. As I say, there's nothing that harshness does that loving firmness doesn't do better, whether it's between you and others or between your ears. So, how do you deal with it? You realize that when you're being harsh, either to others or to yourself, that this is an immature part of you. This is your adaptive child part, which is usually 5 years old up to teenage. And you don't want to meet harshness with harshness. You meet harshness with loving firmness. And you kind of one of the things I say is when an inner child perks up, like a harsh part of you as an inner child, you want to put them on your lap, put your arms around them, hear what they have to say, love them, and take their sticky hands off the steering wheel. You are not driving the bus. I am. You get in the back seat. So it's just like it's a reparenting thing. It's you parenting you. You hear them, you love them, and you limit them. And then you go off into the wise adult part of you and bring that. Look, when Belinda and I fight, I take little Terry. I have a composite about 8 years old. And literally, I put him behind me. And I say, between the blast of anger coming from Belinda and you is me, my adult self, my big, strong body here. And I'll take the blast like Superman. I'll take the hit. You're protected back there. Mm-hmm. That's my job. Here's your job. Don't you deal with Belinda, please. You let me deal with her. You'll make a mess of things. And so these are ways that you begin to work with our immature triggered parts. We form relationships with them. We love them, we get to know them, and we don't indulge them. And one of the things I say is maturity comes when we deal with our inner children and don't foist them off on our partners to contend with.
Yes. So don't throw the child off the bus, but just tell them to go to the back.
May I end with a story? You know, I love
Of
stories.
course.
So this is a true story. This is self-esteem work. This is what I teach the men and women I work with and non-binary folks I work with about self-esteem. So I was at a conference for therapists, and it was the end of the day, and I was signing books. I was autographing books, and someone said, "Oh my God, you're going to be late!" And I gathered all my stuff and I'm on the plane, shoes off, nice glass of Chardonnay, great day, feeling great, and I feel this cold wetness on my chest. And I look down at my shirt, and there's this black pool on my beautiful dress shirt. I had been signing with a Sharpie, and I didn't put the lid back. I put it in, and I ruined the shirt. Now I'm depressive and I have ADD. So 20 years ago, that ruined shirt could have triggered a depression, which is really self-attack, for 5 days. I can't believe it. You always do this. You can't take care of anything. You're a loser. What a schmuck. Look, this is a fancy, this is a $300 shirt. This is, you're going on an Oprah Winfrey shirt, and look what you did to it, you bed. Okay. That went on for, instead of 5 days, it went on for about 5 minutes. And then I turned to that little boy. That's my adaptive child. He's about 10 years old, and he's pretty feisty. And I turned to him in my head and I said, "Hey, look, little Terry, let's make a deal." I said, "Look, the same ADD brain that ruined this shirt is the brain that wrote the books that were being autographed. Mm-hmm. So why don't you pipe down?" And he did. And I sat down and had my glass. And, I'm a therapist. What have I got? Rent and tissue papers. I said, "This shirt cost of doing business. I'll buy another one." Yeah. And 20 years ago, I would be no more capable of doing that than flying. But this is a practice. It's in the doing. And the more you do it, the stronger you get. Our relationship in this culture, two relationships, including our relationship to ourselves, is passive. You get what you get, and then you complain about it. This is a revolution. You have something to say. You can shape these relationships proactively instead of reactively.
Just accept them. Mm-hmm.
Accept them and work with them. De-harshify them. Correct the faulty thinking in them, and get recentered in yourself. And also, if you need help doing that, reach out for help. A buddy, a 12-step sponsor, a therapist. I'm out of my mind. Let me get recentered. And you want the people who are supporting you to support the relationship, not you as an individual. Everybody and their sister will say, "I wouldn't put up with that. You go back and you tell." No. I don't want that. I want you to say, "Okay, I got Belinda's part. Let's take a look at yours." That's a friend. And so I teach my clients to train their friends to be relational with them and not individualistic.
Oh, wow. Okay. That's, I guess it's something for us to realize about ourselves as well, that it's not just accepting, okay, that's who I am, kind of, that's what I was dealt and nothing can change, but to actually know that there is a way to change. It is something that you are going to have to practice, not just hear a therapist tell you and let it come out the other ear, but actually practice it, feel uncomfortable with it, and practice it again, and maybe feel more, and then just get used to it and make it part of how you are and how you see things. That's what I'm understanding. Yeah. Am I getting it?
That's right. It's the practice of reaching for our better self.
Yeah. Okay. Wow. What an amazing way to end. Terry, is there anything is there any way my listeners can reach out to you or learn more about you?
Yes. Come to my website. Just Google Terry Real or terryreal.com will get you there. And we're just now offering an us consciousness workshop for individuals and couples wanting to learn how to think and behave with relational skill for the general public online. Lots of information about it. So come online. We've got a lot of resources. We have a quiz that you can take about where you are in yourself and where you are in the relationship, and come to a workshop.
Okay, so I will put your link on the show notes for people to take a look. So thank you so much. This was enlightening, and I learned a lot, and I really, really hope that every person can put their hands on your book and read it. They will learn so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And thank you for having me. A lovely interview. I really appreciate it.